Alright, so here's our various pieces and parts. We're going to use 6 inches of this 2-inch pipe to fit up into the engine stand. Here's the shim driver. Here's the flange face holder. Here's 2 gussets. Here's 2 gussets. This is the outer differential case holder. And then this is the back plane on which 2-inch pipe and the gussets in this plate will weld. So now it's just on to the races. Start cutting. We don't have a big plasma cutter, so this is going to take me some time. And may do some of the straight sections with a grinding wheel, cutting wheel, and a grinder. We'll see. May just be the smarter move, but anyway, I'm not going to bother you with that. Let's get to cutting, get a bunch of pieces made. Well, all our pieces and parts are ready to go. All cut out. These are 2 long gussets, 2 short gussets, the back plane, the holder that bolts onto the chunk, and then our pipe that's going to go into the engine mount, engine holder. So first things first, we're going to do a bunch of markup. We're going to set these little guys about 1/4 inch off the edge so we can do a little fillet weld right in there. So we draw a bunch of lines, top, bottom, find center here, and go ahead and flip the other side and go ahead and find center for welding this up. And then we're going to begin tack up. So I'll show you as that goes. Alright, well, that's it. That's the mock-up. And you can see it's 3/16 plate. Got it pretty well tacked up. I like to tack it up fairly well just to keep everything from moving about before I start welding, reshaping everything. So I think before we weld this thing, I'm going to give it a test fit, make sure it works the way I think it should, or the way I hoped it would, or something like that. And then we're going to weld this whole thing out and hopefully have the first tool that we're making for this project done. All right, as we discovered yesterday in the last video, that's yesterday because it was yesterday for me, it is reversible. Can go on this way or the other direction. And so, you know what, I'm going to turn it around. I'll tell you why. Is when it tips, it wants to tip that way. So let's put the weight on this side. Maybe it'll keep it trying to tip. So we'll start us up some holes. Make sure nothing's hitting anywhere. I think something is hitting somewhere actually. It is. No, it's not either. That's just me not holding my mouth right. And you'll probably notice I did have to elongate these holes. I think I may have to elongate this hole a little bit more. Real hard to transfer that bolt pattern with any reasonable accuracy off that paper onto the metal. And like I said before, the paper doesn't really lie flat most of the time. So kind of iffy at best to get that whole pattern sorted out. So I'm good with that. Look at it from the side. Yeah, we got some clearance room there. We've got, I know you can't see it, but we got clearance room on that side. So yeah, I think we're good to go. Now just a matter of doing the weld out and probably elongate these holes a little bit, get some shorter bolts, and it's ready to go. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Look, I'm not a fabricator, so you don't have to look too close to find issues, but what we're trying to do is more than adequate to accomplish the task. So I'm going to get to welding, and I'll get back with you when it's completely done, and heck, we'll mount this thing up and stick it in the engine stand and spin it around. I guess one thing I still haven't done yet that I'll need to do is probably when I get through welding it, I'll put it in the engine stand, and there's a hole, bolt goes through, and we're going to mark where that hole is, and we're going to drill holes through this way and holes through this way, so that we can freeze it in any of 4 positions while we're working on it. So we'll need to drill those holes still. All right, we'll get back to you. Let's get to welding. Well, done for the night, at least. Sort of maybe some paint, and that's optional as far as I'm concerned. This is, well, no, it's not done. It's almost done. Let me correct myself. Need to drill a hole here. Drill a hole basically within this position, turn it 90 degrees, drill another hole. That way we can deal with axle bearings, axle seals, things like that while it's on the holder. Things pretty hot right now, so cautious. But we'll turn it by the housing, and without no pin to drop in it. So, but yeah, looks like it'll work to me. Everything's reasonably good. I use the differential cover bolts for now, just to test it out. We'll get the proper bolts probably tomorrow, and like I said, we'll finish up by drilling this tomorrow, and then we're going to get on those 2 tools, get them cleaned up. We got them cut out. Pinion flanges, flange holders got to be drilled out. Figure out how to make a square hole, and then the driver tool, the shim driving tool, it's just a matter of getting it cleaned up and getting the shape right so that it works good with the shims. Anyway, so please don't judge my welding. I am not a welder. If you want to see welding, you watch my daughter. She's a much better welder than me. But I got it done. I'm having trouble with my welder feeding wire at a consistent rate, which makes a not so great welder even worse. But I will figure it out. Anyway, it's not going anywhere. It's going to hold well. I mean, there's absolutely no flimsy in it. I mean, what flimsy there is in the actual engine stand. This thing's not going to flex a lick between the bottom gusset and the top gusset. So yeah, happy with it. If you've got a rebuild 8.8, I certainly recommend it, because those boogers are heavy and awkward, and you've got to do a lot of manipulating of gears and bearings and bushing and shims and the like. So we'll finish this up tomorrow, and we'll get on the 2 tools, and we'll wrap up this video then. All right, so we have finished the shim driving tool. Basically fit this closely with an originally with a flat disc, then I refined it with a rotary air file to try to get this shape such that it matched pretty closely this bearing yoke, and that's going to be hard for you to tell on screen, but it's a nice fit, and so happy with that. I think that'll do a good job driving our shims down in there. And then the pinion holding device, we got it cleaned up a bit, and use a transfer punch, basically upside down. Use a transfer punch through the center of the bolt hole pattern, and we got it mounted. Now the only thing left to do is to figure out where to put this 1/2 inch hole for 1/2 inch square for the breaker bar, and we'll be done. We'll be done. Then we can start the fun part, which is rebuilding the rear diff. And just like that, we're done. Show you real quick the holder. Ooh. Try that again. And so we're just going to use our pinion bolts to hold this on when the time comes. Hopefully you can see. And so we'll put that down and torque it down. But I have to make sure that my bolts don't extend to the point where they're going to hit the diff. May have to put some washers on them. If they do, I don't think it'll be much of a problem, even if we have to put washers on them. Anyway, so that's that. We put a square hole here in the end. Basically, this is a 1/2 inch hole, so we drilled a 31/64 dimension hole, and then we used a small triangle file and some patience. Really didn't take too long to make it 1/2 inch, and then our breaker bar fits in there. So now we've got a handle to hold the pinion flange still while we're tightening up the pinion nut in the center. So look, none of it's perfect, square, round, smooth, straight, but I think it's going to be more than adequate to accomplish the mission at hand. And so there you go. There's a fixture for holding the rear differential. Here's the shim driver tool. Here's the pinion flange holder. You may not need all these pieces. You might need other pieces, but you know, whatever you need, you can, I think, reasonably fabricate. Now, this stuff didn't take very long to fabricate at all. I want to say cutting it out to, I don't know, maybe laying it out, cutting out, took an hour. Making the patterns probably took an hour total, 45 minutes, something like that. And then I just had to smooth everything, do the weld up. And I don't know about you, but the weld and fabricate, that's fun. That's one of the reasons I'm building this whole truck, is because I enjoy it. Anyway, so I did put some little electric tape on the handle here just to keep the edges from cutting into me. And you can see, here's the striking surface, roughly center of the arc of the shims. So yeah, I'm happy. Now I think we have what we need. We've got the gears in, got the seals and bearings and shims and all those goodies, and the new positive track differential for carrier. And so we're about ready to go together with this thing. I've got a few other short-term priorities, get those knocked out, and then we can get on to assembling this. Well, if you're still with us, thanks for watching, and I hope somehow this is useful to you. Certainly going to be useful to me. If you're interested to see how these things work, there'll be a series coming up on rebuilding this differential once we get started. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.